Robert, thank you very much. The impact of the BP oil spill is still being felt by drillers across the Gulf who are losing millions of dollars per day due to President Obama's drilling moratorium. How are these drillers and their employees dealing with this loss of business? Our very own Liz Klayman decided to go straight to the source, going aboard the Hercules offshore rig H201 to get an inside exclusive look at the rig's operations. And she joins us right now. Liz.
Cheryl, we've moved from the actual drill here on Hercules 201 jackup rig to what's called the cement unit. This is directly tied to the blowout preventer, that main safety point of contention there that was for the BP people. Here it is. This is the cement unit now, and all of the byproduct of what they call cement or mud comes up through here. And this is a crucial part of what goes on when you're drilling in the Gulf of Mexico. You know, when you clarify that it's a deep water drilling moratorium, but the shallow water guys immediately read the writing on the wall when that moratorium came through, and they formed their own coalition, the Shallow Water Energy Security Coalition. I'm joined now by the man who owns it. He's been working in Washington. He's been working out on the rigs. His name is Jim Noe. Jim, good to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Aside from running the coalition that's really trying to fight for the shallow water guys, you also are the CEO of Delta Towing, which is a services part of this operation. We're told by the government there's no moratorium on the shallow water guys. What do you say to that? What is your perception?
Well, I'd ask you to look for yourself. Just from this drilling rig, we could see 18 rigs that are idle, sitting right here on this rig. That's each one of those rigs has 100 workers on board and 400 support jobs, people like port and harbor workers and longshoremen and truckers, welders and fabricators. So each one of these rigs has
4 over your shoulder here. I mean,
Each one of these rigs has 500 jobs. So just sitting on this rig, we could see 9,000 jobs. These are real jobs. And look, we talk funny down here, and we say grace before our meals, and we call our mamas ma'am. But this is not a Texas story. This is not a Louisiana story. This is not a Gulf South story. This is an American story. These are real jobs. Now, these jobs may not be green enough for some, but they're real jobs, and they're not jobs of tomorrow. They're jobs of today, and they're sitting here idle.
You're going to meet with Michael Bromwich tomorrow. He, of course, is the head of the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management. You've met with him before. What is the response that you are getting from the administration?
Well, Director Bromwich, who has his hands full, there's no doubt about that. When I meet with him, he's always engaging, he's always constructive, but he tells me the same thing. He tells me there's no moratorium on shallow water drilling, and I tell him to look for himself. The American people can see for themselves. We have workers that are idle. We have rigs that are idle. Nearly a third of the shallow water rigs are idle for no good reason. These rigs are different. You've seen it for yourself. You could go up and put your hands on our blowout preventer. We've been drilling these wells safely since the 40s. We've drilled over 46,000 wells in the shallow water safely without major incident. We know how to drill these wells.
Okay, so you just mentioned the blowout preventer, and you said for no good reason. Some would argue that the BP spill, separate of course because it's a deep water spill, forced the administration to stop, drop, and roll, really look at the entire situation and say, wait a minute, these regulations haven't been touched in years. Maybe there's too cozy a relationship with the regulators who come in and the federal guys who board and start to inspect. Give us the assessment of that. I mean, you know, playing devil's advocate here, did things really need to change after all those years?
Well, I think we need to be calibrated and risk calibrated in our approach. We need to look at facts. We need to look at history. We need to look at geology. And really that's the message that we're trying to make in Washington is that there are certain operations that can be conducted safely. We could prove to the American people that they can be conducted safely. And the shallow water operations are a good example. There's supposedly no moratorium on shallow water drilling, but we're shutting down the industry and dismantling the industry. It's going to be difficult to put that back together again unless the administration puts its money where its mouth is and turns rhetoric into action and starts issuing permits for new wells.
Let's talk about some of the new regulations for all of you, not just the deep water guys. One of them entails a worst case spill scenario where you have to assess what would be the worst case spill scenario, and then it would require you, as I understand it, to have enough hardware, to purchase enough hardware to deal with 4 times that worst case spill. Can you do that, or will that break your financial back?
Well, we still don't know what the rules are, which is part of the problem. Is that we need to know what the rules of the road are. And look, if we
What do you make of that one, though?
If we need 15 yards to make a first down, then we'll design a game plan around that. You know, the BOEM has put out new rules and regulations throughout the summer. They put out some new safety rules in June. We thought they were a good idea. We were complying with them already for the most part. And we're not against regulations, but we want regulations that are tailored to the actual facts.
Well, you had an analogy with, say, for example, Giant Stadium and having a worst case scenario of some type of disaster. What would it mean as far as that analogy is concerned for you and these rigs to then get up and operating and be compliant?
Well, I think you're touching on one of the sticking points is the regulators are looking at worst case oil spill calculations through the distorting prism of the BP Macondo well, which was very unlike the wells that we drill here. And what they're telling us, and we don't know yet exactly what the rules will be, but what they're telling us is you need to be able to prove as an operator in these shallow water wells that you have enough spill containment equipment to not only meet what you think is the worst possible scenario for a spill, but double that or quadruple that. We don't know if it's double or quadruple yet, but the analogy would be that we talked about earlier would be how many ambulances are enough ambulance to have on hand in Giant Stadium? Should we have one ambulance for every single spectator? Should we have two ambulances for every spectator? And those are the types of questions that we're not having a lot of progress on because everyone's viewing it through the distorting prism of Macondo.
As we finish this up, you know, we've got a lot of workers here that we've already met here with our Fox Business crew, and my heart goes out to them. They are highly skilled, very smart people, and they're very worried that they're going to lose their jobs. Are they?
It's a good question. I think you need to ask that of the administration.
By the way, we have put in a minimum of 3 calls to the Bureau of Oceans Energy Management, and the response was, look on our website. We very much wanted them to be a part of this broadcast today, live from the rig, but we have reached out to them. That invitation still stands. We're going to have the head of the Coast Guard, Admiral Paul Zukund, coming up, and we'll be speaking with him as well, but very important to get this side and their side as well. So we appreciate you speaking with us. Thank you.
Thanks for being here.